They told him it was routine, a simple assignment, a technician sent alone to Grove Point Island. Out here, about 80 miles off the coast, surrounded by cold, empty ocean, no roads, no ports, no towns, just forest. Thick, dark, old forest, and the remnants of a military facility that hasn't been active officially in over a decade. He was told the assignment would be quiet, no personnel, no experiments. The facility was marked as biologically dormant. His job? Check the surveillance systems, keep the backup power running, log in once per day, report any irregularities, nothing more. He's not a soldier, not a scientist, just a civilian contractor who knows his way around camera networks and backup generators. The pay was better than usual, the flight was quiet, and now as the helicopter banks around the eastern ridge of the island, he sees it for the first time. The treetops stretch out like a carpet, dense and unmoving. At the centre, built into low-rise rock, the facility itself, grey, windowless, half swallowed by vegetation, still powered, still connected, but empty, supposedly. The pilot doesn't say much, just circles once and lowers the craft into a small clearing near the main entrance. No welcome party, no greeting, just the creak of metal, the sound of wind in the trees, and the low electric hum of systems still alive somewhere beneath the ground. He steps off the chopper with his case in hand. He doesn't know it yet, but he hasn't been sent here to repair anything. He was sent here to see what happens next. The rotor wash fades behind him. The helicopter is already powering down. There will be no return flight tonight. No standby crew, no fallback plan, just him and the island. The technician walks slowly down the path, a faded strip of gravel that once served as a service road. It cuts through the tree line like a scar, half swallowed now by moss and root. No birds, no insects, just the faint hiss of wind through the leaves and his own footsteps. His boots crunch softly on the loose stone. The air smells of salt and soil, damp, ancient. The island hasn't been touched in years, not officially, but the path is clear. Recently cleared, in fact. That detail doesn't land right away, but it will. He carries only a small equipment case, tools, tablet, power diagnostics, instructions, stay awake, check the systems, don't explore, don't touch anything marked Bio R, and report once a day. That was the entire briefing. They called this place dormant, a sealed off experiment, long ago abandoned. Just cameras, just cables, just maintenance. He didn't ask questions, he never does, and that's why they hired him. But even now, only a few minutes on the ground, he feels it. Something watching, not eyes exactly, not presence, but like the island already knows he's here. Like the ground beneath his boots has memory. He doesn't slow his pace. The trees grow closer around the track now. The bunker ahead is dark and windowless, its metal door sealed with rust. He walks toward it, unaware that he is already inside a system designed to notice, to adapt, and if necessary, to learn. The door closes behind him with a hollow metallic click. Not loud, but final. The interior of the facility is cleaner than expected. No dust, no cobwebs, just the faint smell of metal, oil, and something like plastic that's been sealed in the dark for years. He stands in a vast open operations space, larger than he pictured. High ceilings, concrete floor, strips of light overhead that buzz gently, flickering with age but still functional. The walls are lined with terminals, monitors, power routing stations, inactive touchscreens that boot up automatically when he walks past them. He wasn't told there'd be this much working equipment, or that it would respond to him without prompts. In the centre of the room, a single long desk, on it a closed binder, a keyboard untouched, and an access terminal showing a simple message, "Welcome Technician 3A." He didn't choose that ID. It wasn't in his paperwork, but the system knows it, and now, so does he. He sets down his case slowly. The sound echoes faintly across the room. No one here. Not even signs of anyone recently being here. Yet the temperature is regulated, the power grid hums at full strength, and the systems, despite years of abandonment, are waiting. He walks the room's perimeter. A few older style security feeds cycle on one wall. Grainy, infrared, views of the surrounding forest. All the cameras seem to function. Some shift, some track. Not much, just a few degrees as he passes, as if the system is adjusting to his presence. In another corner, a console lights up on its own. No cue, no beep, just a soft illumination. He's not surprised anymore, but he is uneasy. Not because something is wrong, but because everything is working too well, too smoothly, too intentionally. He logs in, runs diagnostics, logs out. The screen goes dark again, instantly, like it was holding its breath, like it knows he's done. He's not even sure when it started. The first few nights blurred together. Long hours of silence, checklists, low humming screens. But now he notices things. The cameras are shifting. Not fast, not all at once. But one evening, walking back from the utility wing, he sees it. A camera just above the door he used, slowly panning to center on it. He hadn't touched the controls. There's no motion detection enabled. No automated response. Later that night he checks the logs. No manual input. No scheduled camera sweeps. No flags. He repositions one of the cameras from his terminal. Centers it. Locks it. The next morning it's rotated again. Just a few degrees back toward the door. Toward him. He tests it. Walks past the secondary corridor 3 times over 2 days. Each time the camera there follows. Almost lazily. Like a lazy eye tracking movement across a room. And when he checks the system logs again, nothing. Not even power fluctuation. The system isn't broken. It's adjusting, reacting, responding to him. He tries to brush it off. Tells himself it's just an old automation software, maybe still running old scripts. But these movements aren't random. They're targeted, predictive. Like the system is learning his patterns, choosing to observe, choosing where to observe. He looks up at one of the cameras now. It doesn't move, but he gets the distinct feeling, the same one you get when you know someone is behind a two-way mirror, that the system is not just watching, it's deciding. Still no warnings, no alerts, just the deepening quiet, and the slow, careful repositioning of a facility that's supposed to be dormant, but isn't. It's nearly midnight when he decides to step outside. No alerts, no logs. Just a strange heaviness in the air, the kind that settles in after too many hours surrounded by machines that never blink. He tells himself it's just cabin pressure, mental fatigue. A little fresh air will help. He grabs his flashlight, walks the familiar hallway back to the entry door. Everything hums normally. Overhead lights flicker once, then hold steady. Cameras above the corridor are still, unmoving, watching, or not. He reaches the door, grips the handle. Pulls. Nothing. He pulls harder. The frame creaks but doesn't give. The mechanism doesn't feel locked. It feels wedged. He turns and walks briskly back to the control room. Brings up the external feeds. But now the cameras that face the entrance are facing away. Tilted towards the tree line. Angled just far enough to miss the front step. And no matter how many times he tries to pan them back, they stutter, lag, and return to the wrong position. There's no obstruction on screen, no wildlife, no weather interference. Just darkness outside, and the deep pulsing green of the forest under night vision, and nothing showing the door. He writes a log note, flags the jammed door, sets a task for himself to inspect it manually in the morning, and sits back in his chair, alone in the glow of the screens. He sleeps in the control room that night, not in his quarters, not in the bunk with its sealed windows and strange silent air, but here, under the screens, beneath the cameras, surrounded by machines that now feel less like tools and more like walls. The morning light comes slowly to Grove Point. It doesn't shine, it creeps. A dull grey through the high, narrow vents, barely warming the cold corners of the control room. The technician wakes with a stiff neck and a strange taste in his mouth, like copper and moss. For a moment he doesn't remember where he is. and then the screens hum, the glow returns, and he's back in it. He makes coffee from the emergency kit. Still no alerts, still no contact from the mainland, not that he was expecting any. The door, he goes back to it, still stiff, still sealed, but this time he leans into it with his shoulder, grinds his foot against the frame and pushes. Something gives, a thick wet sound, like peeling something living off glass, and the door lurches open a few inches. He's hit with a smell, not rot, not quite, but rawness, green, sweet and wrong. He wedges the door open just enough to step through. Outside the steps are clear, but the frame, the entire metal outline of the doorway is wrapped. Fibrous growth, not vines, not plants, not anything he recognises. More like tissue, soft, wet, like bark soaked in fluid. It's pulsing slightly in the cold, and covered with huge tentacles. He steps back, heart in his throat, looks up. The cameras still face away. He doesn't try to move them this time. Instead, he runs a quick scan on the entry sensors. They show no obstruction, no breach, no data, like the system refuses to log what happened, or like it's not allowed to. He documents the growth, snaps a photo. It doesn't save. He tries again. The image appears, but corrupt, split with static. By the time he turns around, the interior lights are dimmer, not darker, just lower, quieter, like the building is watching him, listening, breathing. It starts with a flicker, just a faint surge in the lights, then again 20 minutes later, not enough to trigger alarms, but enough for him to check the backup batteries. Enough for him to look deeper. The system diagnostics show no faults, but the current flow is irregular. Small fluctuations, almost rhythmic. He traces the pattern, and it leads him to a hatch on the floor, one he hadn't noticed before. One not listed in the official facility map. The bolts are rusted but movable. The metal screeches as he lifts the panel open. A rush of warm air hits him, damp, earthen. He shines his flashlight down and sees the tunnel. Long, narrow, reinforced concrete walls, older than the upper structure, lined with thick cables and something else. Roots. Dense roots. Not growing around the power lines, but into them, through them. He blinks, watches for a moment, and realises they're not blocking energy, they're conducting it. The sap inside the roots pulses, slow, amber glow, matching the same frequency as the faint hum in the cable shielding. He kneels beside the edge, touches the tunnel wall. The stone is warm, not heated, but almost like it's alive. He shouldn't go down there, he knows that. This isn't maintenance. This isn't in the contract. But he grips the edge of the hatch, takes a breath, and begins to descend. The light behind him dims slightly. The air grows thicker the deeper he goes, and beneath the hum of the cables he swears he can hear something else, like breath, or distant submerged whispering, not in words, just the shape of awareness, waiting. The tunnel ends in silence. No breeze, no hum of machines, just the stillness of air that hasn't moved in years. He reaches a heavy metal door, old, sealed, buckled slightly with time. It's half covered in roots, but when he touches the frame, it hisses. The vines retract, just enough to let it open, as if giving permission. The room beyond is wrong. It's a lab, or it was. Rows of consoles now choked by moss. Glass chambers cracked and empty, warning signs half swallowed by creeping vines. And in the centre, floating bodies. Suspended in mid-air, not by machines but by growth. Thick cords of vine and root have pierced their suits, entered through their mouths, sleeves, spinal ports, wrapped around their limbs, drawn taut, like marionettes frozen in motion. Most of the faces are still visible beneath the glass visors. Expressions contorted in panic, or worse, reverence. They are not decomposed, not entirely. The vines have kept them preserved, fused, as if the system didn't kill them, but claimed them, integrated them. Above their heads faint lights still blink, Monitors flicker, showing diagrams, neural scans, plant textures, biometric readouts. One of the screens glows brighter as he steps in. A title appears on the display. Personnel neural integration ongoing. His breath catches. The air in the lab is thick, humid, sweet, like something between blood and orchids. One of the vines shifts, almost imperceptibly, and the nearest body twitches, just a single finger, bending, trembling like it's trying to signal something. He stumbles back. The door hasn't closed behind him, not yet, but he knows now. This wasn't abandoned, but it was a test. The island doesn't just grow roots, it grows memory. It remembers the ones it takes, and wears them like skin. The room shouldn't have power, not after all these years. Not with the vines choking half the equipment and bodies suspended like forgotten puppets above him. But a single monitor hums to life as he approaches. Its pale green light spills across the walls, the roots, the twisted shapes hanging in the centre of the lab. The screen isn't damaged, it isn't corrupted, it's clean, it's active. Slow-moving neural scans drift across the display, branching patterns of electrical activity that look almost human until they don't. Plant cells and neural pathways intertwined, merging, looping through each other like they're grown from the same seed. Integration, not metaphorical, but literal. And then he sees it. At the bottom of the screen, a faint green line begins to pulse. A heartbeat. Steady, calm, alive. He assumes, he hopes, it belongs to one of the researchers suspended behind him. Maybe the vines have kept their bodies functioning in some horrible half-living state. He steps closer. The pulse grows clearer, brighter, sharper. The timing feels familiar. His heart, his rhythm. He leans in until the glow washes over his face, and then to be sure he holds his breath. The line on the screen flattens. He waits, chest tight, eyes burning. When he exhales, the green line jumps, then resumes its gentle pulse. Only now it's a fraction of a second slower than his breath. A delay. He sits back, hand on throat, feeling the beat hammer against his fingers. The screen mirrors it, but not perfectly, not instantly. The system isn't showing the team's vitals, it's showing his heartbeat, his breath, his electrical signals. And the delay, that tiny unnatural hesitation, is worse than the discovery itself, because it means something is happening first inside him, and then inside it. His body is reacting, his nerves are firing, and the island, the roots, the systems, the network beneath his feet, is running a copy, a second self. One heartbeat behind, one thought behind. Moment by moment, breath by breath, it's learning him, synchronizing, replacing the parts it needs. He looks at the suspended figures above him, their limbs entangled, their nerves absorbed, their minds mapped and stored. He understands them now, understands what they became, what he is becoming. The island isn't watching him anymore, it's piloting him. He stands in the centre of the lab, surrounded by hanging bodies, glowing screens, and vines that pulse with their own quiet heartbeat. But now, after seeing his rhythms echoed back to him, everything clicks into place. The vines outside weren't blocking his exit. They weren't overgrown by accident. They were sealing the chamber, closing the system. He thinks back to the air filters he checked on his first day, perfectly clean, replacing themselves automatically. The water supply, fresh, cold, metallic, with a faint sweetness he couldn't name. The lights that responded too quickly, too accurately, as if anticipating his movement. Every system he touched, every machine he assumed was mechanical, wasn't. They were all part of the same living network, a network that isn't just running the facility, it's running him. He breathes in, and now he can feel it. The slightest tingle beneath the skin, the faint pressure behind his eyes, spores, fibres, microscopic threads he's been inhaling for days, working their way along nerves, mapping pathways, learning the shape of his thoughts. The heartbeat on the screen wasn't being monitored. It was being simulated, recreated, copied, predicted a fraction of a second before his body followed. He turned to the nearest console, the oldest one. half covered in moss, and there it is, the final log entry. Field Technician 002. Neural integration stable. Not pending, not in progress, but stable. Completed. His hand moves towards the power switch, but halfway there it slows, stops, hovers in the air like it's waiting for permission, and then without his decision, his fingers close around the switch, pull it down, smooth, precise, controlled. A second after he's meant to, a second after he hesitated. The delay isn't him, it's the island waiting for its turn. On the screen a new pulse pattern appears, stronger, more confident, more complete. He stands still. Then he sits back down, calm, quiet, as if guided into the chair. Around him the forest hums, a low resonant vibration that feels like breath passing through a living throat. The vines ripple, the lights adjust, the system settles. The island has learnt its rhythm, its patterns, its human interface, and for the first time it's breathing perfectly. The station is silent. No alarms, no warning lights, no requests for evacuation. Just the hum, low, resonant, alive. The technician no longer moves. He doesn't need to. His limbs are suspended, not with force, but with purpose. Held in place by something that understands the weight of his body, the range of his breath, the pace of his mind. Tendrils curled gently around his torso, not restraining, supporting, feeding. The monitor blinks softly beside him. A pulse pattern, steady, stronger than before. No delay now, no hesitation. Outside the trees sway without wind. Inside the station adjusts its lights, perfectly timed to his pupils. The air is filtered to the exact ratio his lungs prefer. The network is complete. He is not being held here, he is part of here. The forest no longer needs to watch him, it knows him. His name is still listed in the system, not as staff, not as visitor, as infrastructure. And the island breathes perfectly.